Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible?
Perfect. Please go on, Alicia.
Okay. So today I'll be talking about diet and COVID-19. So this is one topic which has increased this amongst both adults and children. People keep on wondering what to eat during the pandemic so that they can stay safe from COVID-19, especially in our country where herbal preparations are being given a big boost. So I shall try to sort out some myths and facts about the same. So these are some commonly asked questions about COVID and food. So can I get COVID if I eat raw, fresh fruits and vegetables? So the answer is no. One should just wash your hands with soap and water before handling the food and wash the vegetables with clean water. Can the virus transmit through your food packages? So again, the answer is no. The virus needs a live host to multiply. So you cannot get it from stray packaging. Can I get it through cooked food? If I don't want to get COVID through cooked food, what is the temperature at which I should cook? There are a lot of myths that you can get it through poultry, you can get it through eggs. But the answer is no, you cannot get it through poultry and eggs, but they should be cooked properly to your normal temperature to which you will cook meat, which is at least 70 degrees Celsius. The next topic is a very controversial topic. It is about health supplements and immunity boosters, which are going to protect you against severe infection. So it has been seen that vitamin C, D, and zinc are required for health for a healthy immune system. But the WHO and the CDC both recommend that you do not need excessive supplementation of the same, and you can get it through a balanced diet. In fact, they have seen that excessive fat soluble vitamins, that is your vitamin A, D, K, and E, can be harmful for the body because they are stored in the body for long terms. So, can this spoonful of pills be a substitute for your daily balanced diet? So these are the commonly used immunity boosters which are being asked about. So the first one is vitamin D. As you can see, the dose required is quite small. It is 600 international units per day in most children of a growing age, and it can be acquired through fortified milk. So one cup of milk has approximately 100 units of vitamin D. Seafood, cod liver oil are other sources of vitamin D. Also, exposure to sunlight is actually the best source of getting vitamin D. So 15 minutes of exposure to good sunlight is enough for your vitamin D requirements for the day. Another thing is omega-3 fatty acids. So these are present in abundance again in seafood, in cod liver oil. Those who are vegetarians, the vegetarian options might be flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, and through your vegetable oils like canola. Certain probiotics are also proved to be immunity boosters. Zinc is a very controversial element because, as we know, lot of patients are being given high doses of zinc and vitamin C. So the first question is whether they actually protect you against COVID. So zinc and vitamin C. Vitamin C is an antioxidant, and zinc does play a big role in your immunity. So the dose of zinc required is very small. It is only 5 to 10 milligrams per day. And most preparations of zinc have high doses, that is around 50 mg per day. And that also can be detrimental. So what are the good nutritional sources of zinc? It is found in lean meats, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Similarly, for vitamin C, the dose required is only 50 mg per day. And most preparations have doses of 500 to 1 gram per day. A rich source of vitamin C is your citrus fruits, berries, and even capsicum. Vitamin B3, B12 are again immunity boosters. Garlic, curcumin, which is the active ingredient in turmeric, elderberry, and certain herbs are shown to be immunity boosters. So we should not dismiss the health pills as just having a very supportive role. So if your child does not take a good balanced diet, dietary supplementation can help. So this was a study which was done in King's College, London, and it involved around 4 lakh people, and they saw that people who were taking supplements of specifically probiotics, omega-3 fatty acids, multivitamins, or vitamin D had a 15% lower risk of getting COVID. This was seen mostly in females and not in men for some reason, because it was not a very properly controlled study. However, they saw that there was no role for taking vitamin C, zinc, or garlic supplements. Another study was for showing whether a high dose of zinc and vitamin C supplementation, whether it has a good effect on people who are suffering from COVID. Uh, but that was not found to be the case. In fact, it was shown that it had no significant benefit in the recovery time. So what has changed during the COVID pandemic that makes us wonder so much about the diet? One is malnutrition. So in most of the impoverished countries, undernourishment is a serious concern because of the financial situations. Whereas in the better progressive countries, obesity is a real risk because of decreased physical activity and increased consumption of processed foods. Other psychosocial factors which influence diet also have to be thought of. That is, the loss of a family member might affect the child and cause depression, and not taking in enough nutrition, less social interaction, and financial issues can be detrimental to the diet. Yeah. So what are the WHO recommendations for a good diet in this COVID pandemic? So you should give your child fresh and unprocessed food, which consists of fruit, vegetables, legumes, nuts, whole grains, and foods from animal sources. It is very important to maintain the hydration of your child, and the child should drink at least 8 to 10 cups of water every day. Healthy fats are to be encouraged, which are found in fish, nuts, or in different oils. You should limit your child's processed food intake, which is high in salt. So the salt intake should be less than 5 grams per day. And you should encourage cooking at home as much as possible. So these are the recommendations for fruit, vegetable, and other dietary intakes. So fruit, 1 to 2 cups per day should be given. Vegetable intake should be about 1 to 2 cups per day. There should be a good intake of milk, which is preferably fortified with vitamin D, around 3 cups per day. 3 portions of protein are encouraged daily. The juice intake should be low because because juices are rich in or high in sugars. So it should be half of your fruit intake. Similarly for dried fruit. About breastfeeding and your child, the breastfeeding guidelines are the same. That is, you should start breastfeeding immediately at birth and exclusively breastfeed for 6 months. You should carry on breastfeeding till they're at least 2 years of age. After 6 months, you can complement the breast milk with other foods. So what changes in COVID? So if the mother is having COVID-19 and she's not severely ill, she can still wear a mask and breastfeed the child. If she is severely ill, then breast milk needs to be expressed to safely provide for the child. If the patient is too unwell to even express breast milk, then relactation, wet nursing, or using donor human milk is an option. So this is just a brief summary of the nutrition which is done in the ICU setting for a sick child with COVID. So even here, the thing to be noted is that enteral nutrition is advised for the child instead of giving it through IV or other modes of nutrition. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alicia. I think with your advice that cut down on juices and increase on fruits and vegetables, very soon you will have to give out recipes how to make them tasty and delightful for kids as well. We move on to Chintan now, who is giving us a talk on pediatric orthopedics and injuries. All for you, Chintan. Meanwhile, can we take a quick question from Alicia? There was a question on how should one eat bread, pav, and things that you get open and you have to bring in house, and how do you clean things which you can normally not wash? What would you advise on food like that?
Yeah, so bread can be consumed. I think if you're going to buy just over the counter bread made in a bakery, it is safer to toast it in some form before consumption, though there is no documented evidence of consuming of COVID getting transmitted through just food substances. It is better to take that precaution when it comes to stray food.
Thanks a lot, Alicia. We can't hear you, Chintan. We can see you, Chintan, but yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry. So, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Chintan Doshi, pediatric orthopedic specialist from Mumbai. I've been trained in USA and Singapore in pediatric orthopedics, and I'm an orthopedic specialist with Pediatrics Specialists of India. So, a little bit about me. When Maharashtra University of Health Sciences started Pediatric Orthopedic Fellowship, I was the first one to grab it. So I'm the first university certified fellow for pediatric orthopedics in Maharashtra. I did my fellowships from Singapore and USA, and I practice all over Mumbai, so in the suburbs as well as in the cities. So I've been seeing patients all around Mumbai, and the experience from lockdown is that I see patients who come with different types of injuries because they have been at home. They are not outdoors. So the fractures still happen. There are injuries which still happen at home. It is not that they are not prone to injuries now that they are not playing with their friends or they are not outdoors. But these injuries are of less velocity. They are not something like, which requires immediate surgical intervention or something like that. But yeah, there are these type of injuries have also been seen where we have done surgeries as shown in this photographs for cases which would need surgeries, and we have done cases for COVID positive patients as well. Coming to what can happen because they are most of the time inactive and indoors is something called as rickets or deficiency syndromes, which occurs due to a lack of sunlight exposure, lack of activities, and the bones go soft. And these are the things that also affect child who are active in sports and also affect their bone health. So what has lockdown affected in children? They are less active and they are missing out on interaction with other kids. They are missing out on sport related orientation with outdoor sports. Staying indoors also, as I already said, leads to vitamin deficiency due to lack of sunlight. And team building qualities which happen by interactions and group learning is also something that is affected their mental health as well. So what can we do, especially in these last 2 lockdowns when the things were very strict? You cannot even step out of the house in the first few months of the first lockdown and the last couple of months of this lockdown. How you can keep them active at home within a safe environment. So these are the few things that we can do. We can do some exercise activities with kids, yoga, games for skill development, involve kids in daily shows, and keep them active and away from the screen. As our Oftal specialists say that we need to have them more involved in activity than on the screen looking at videos. So these are something which can be done at home. It is important that we make this as a routine, because once in a while thing will not work in long term and you tend to give way. So decide on a time that it would be 8 to 9 in the morning, or maybe evening time 5 to 6 or something, where you are off work and you can spend time with kids. This also increases the bonding and helps in their mental health. However, it is very important from their bone health perspective as well. Yoga time can be clubbed together for a family. You do mother and child, we can see doing here. This is the image from this lockdown itself. So a mother and a child doing the yoga, a child doing the yoga herself. You can teach them, and especially it increases the flexibility, and the joints are pretty much strong with these. As I said, we can involve child with daily activities. So most of the parents and husbands especially are now getting involved with these daily activities, helping their wives. Same thing, we can have the children to help them, get involved in these activities of washing clothes or utensils. And I would strongly encourage that for both the genders. Something which one of my cousin's daughter has been doing at home. They have been doing a lot of activities. I know some of these would be a little expensive, but some of these can be tried at home as well. You keep the child active, like how the child would be in a swimming pool or in a garden or something. But this same thing can be tried. A very important thing to note here is, to prevent injury, there is a soft mat which is played below this slide. So there was a question from the audience: how do you prevent injuries? Soft mats are a good thing. If it's not available, you can use woolen clothes or woolen rug or something, which prevents a direct hit on the bone from the floor or the ground. Something which I saw just day before yesterday, a 4-year-old kid presented with me with rickets. Child was walking absolutely normal before the lockdown. However, this too lockdown has affected the child a lot. We see a lot of signs of rickets, a bone deficiency where the bones are swollen, there are deformities, there's lethargy. The child has stopped walking since last 2 months. A classical sign of rickets. I've been seeing this for a number of months now, and the cases are just increasing. It is due to vitamin D deficiency and is very easily treatable with the diet and some supplements when the treatment is actually needed. So speaking of vitamin D, sunlight exposure is important for kids. If you have a balcony or a veranda or somewhere where the sunlight is coming directly, it can be either in the morning or the evening. It's not necessary only the morning sun, but some of these would be important, especially now when the lockdown is easing out next month. You can take the child to a terrace or on your building ground as well. Get some of these to prevent the deficiency. So recommended is about 20 to 40 minutes. 20 minutes is good enough. I'm not saying that you have to wait for 40 minutes. 20 minutes would do the work. But yeah, the child should be exposed, no full sleeves, and have half sleeve or sleeveless, and even the legs should be exposed, and let them just walk or play in the sun. This can be arranged at home as well. So speaking of calcium and vitamin D, when we are talking on bone health, there are standard calcium dosage. I would recommend that we go in for a natural therapy rather than giving supplements and syrups and tablets. So the next slide is on the natural therapy, but the ideal requirement for a calcium is usually in age groups less than 1 year would be 250 grams, 1 to 3 years would be 500 grams. Up to 8 years is about 1,000 gram, and up to 15 years is about 1,200 grams. This is for the growing child. So and most of these is easily available in diet, and it is good to maintain it that way. If there is some deficiency, we can always help with medicine. So usually I would advise not to self-treat or self-medicate. You can contact a specialist for maintenance dose and the treatment dose. So natural vitamin C and natural vitamin D and calcium is available, through diet. D is usually sunlight. There is no specific diet. Yes, oily foods will help in storage of vitamin D, but there is no direct benefit of getting vitamin D through any oily food. But calcium is a good natural source. So in diet, so these are milk and milk products are very good in calcium. Again, papaya and sweet potato can help. Ragi and nachni preparations are very good in calcium, so I would encourage those to be given rather than giving medicines. Vitamin C, as Alisha already mentioned, there is a very good source. You give citrus fruits to kids, and I don't think you need to give supplements for those. Now, some of these questions were asked just right now on YouTube chat. Some of these were asked when you were filling in the form. So these are the questions by parents. What about a sports-oriented kid who wants to play outdoors? Should we allow or not? So in times of strict lockdown, like how it was last month, I would advise no, because not to expose. But yeah, when the lockdown is easing out, like how Pooja and Alisha mentioned, we can allow them with some activities which do not involve group. So like cycling is a very good activity, and it usually maintains the distance as well and is a good exercise. So individual activities are good, and group activities would be allowed specifically with mask and precautions, but it depends on the caseload. It depends on what is happening in the society. So this group activities should be cautiously dealt with, and it is strictly no for now when the lockdown is very strict. Playing outdoors in society garden, it depends on how secure is the garden. How many people are there at the time when your child is playing, what is the caseload in your society. If there are a lot of cases, I would avoid going out of the house itself, forget to the garden. And what
Chintan, you're mute. No, you're not audible, Chintan. Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so playing outdoors in society garden depends on case basis, case-wise basis. If there are too many case loads, I don't expect anyone to go out of the house itself. One of the questions just now was asked on YouTube was how to prevent injuries when kids are doing acrobats at home as against in gyms and clubs. So yeah, as I already mentioned, use of soft mat or use of a soft flooring would definitely help in preventing injuries. I would avoid keeping kids unattended when they are on heights like on the edge of the bed or on the window or something. So as this would definitely prevent injuries. They should be always be accompanied when they are in dangerous areas. So yeah, and thank you. And Jinali will now talk on what exercises can be done when you are.
Thanks a lot, Chintan. There's a lot of information in that talk, especially something that I would be keen to show my husband about how to share daily